Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai. Okay, so you might be wondering, why is it that we're deviating from the normal program of having Srimad Bhagavatam class? Just, because it's Rath Yatra coming up. Why is that? Well, the idea is we're trying to get everybody motivated, to participate in the proper mood and with the proper spirit in the Rath Yatra. So, we're going to be reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, as a means to that end. Now, naturally you would assume, okay, well, we're going to be hearing about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes of, participating in the Rath Yatra, right? Well, yeah, but not initially. We're going to lead up to that. That's going to start in full swing a week from today. But this week we're going to lead up to that. We're going to talk about Lord Chaitanya in general and the reasons for his appearance. And as you'll see, it's very much related. It's not going to be unrelated. And hopefully it'll help everybody get inspired to, participate in the Rath Yatra with the right kind of mood. So I'm going to jump ahead here. We're going to be reading from the Adi Lila chapter 3, and I'm going to jump ahead to verse number 4, a very famous verse, which was, and I'm going to, read the chapter summary, and we're going to do all the other things that Archit asked me to do. But just to keep focus here, I want to jump ahead to this text 4, which is a verse that was composed by Rupa Goswami, and I'll read it. Well, we won't chant it together, but I'll just read it. Anarpita chirim charat karunaya avatirna kalo samarpayatam unat jojvala rasam swabhakti sriyam hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandana. The translation is, may the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow, and here, what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So that last part of the translation is very significant to our discussion here today, that a big part of Lord Chaitanya's mission was to, as it says here, to bestow what no other incarnation has ever offered before. What is that? The most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So, that was Lord Chaitanya's mission, to bestow that most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. Rath Yatra was one of his methods for doing that. Rath Yatra is Lord Chaitanya exhibiting absorption in Vipalamba Seva. He's in the mood of Radharani, and he's trying to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. See? And Rath Yatras, and I'm going to read you something that Prabhupada said about Rath Yatra. It was at a Rath Yatra lecture that he gave. I think it's in London. Yeah, London 1972, which is a year before Prabhupada himself danced for the entire parade route of 3 or 4 miles. He danced and chanted the entire time in ecstasy for the entire parade route. This is the year before. But Prabhupada said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for kindly participating in this festival, Rath Yatra Festival. This festival is coming down since 5,000 years when Lord Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram and his younger sister Subhadra, all together in a chariot, came from Dwarka to Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is still existing, and the Dwarka, the city, is also still existing. So according to the Vedic culture, when there's an eclipse, lunar eclipse, people take bath in sacred rivers, so especially they go to Kurukshetra, a pilgrimage. So Krishna, along with his family members, brother and sister, came to Kurukshetra, and receiving this news, the gopis and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna lived in his childhood, they came to see him. So amongst the gopis, Srimati Radharani was the chief, And when she saw Krishna in Kurukshetra in all opulence, she said, "My dear Krishna, you're also here. I am also here. But we are missing Vrindavan. So I wish that you come along with me again in Vrindavan and enjoy in the forest of Vrindavan." These feelings of separation were preached by Lord Chaitanya. So this Rath Yatra festival is still observed in Jagannath Puri in India. 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya participated in this festival. And he was in the mood of separation, as if Radharani was taking back Krishna to Vrindavan. This is the essence of the essence. You're not going to get a more clear, concise, perfect description of what Rath Yatra is and the meaning of Rath Yatra than what you're hearing right now. Radharani was taking back Krishna to Vrindavan. So this Rath Yatra festival is a feeling festival for the Vaishnava. Lord Chaitanya taught us how to feel separation of God. Lord Chaitanya never taught us that he had seen God, but never taught us that he had seen God, but he felt separation of God very severely. Similarly, his next disciples, the Sad Goswamis, they also persecuted their devotional service by separation feelings. And Prabhupada quotes the last verse of the Sri Sri Sad Goswami Astika by Srinivasacharya. So this Rath Yatra festival is a very nice feeling festival for the Vaishnava. And anyone who is participating in this festival, he'll gradually develop his dormant love for Krishna. And Prabhupada ends, says, thank you very much for coming like that. So Rath Yatra is an opportunity to enter into these feelings of separation. This is Lord Chaitanya's mission. We just heard it, right? It says he has descended in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy to do what? To bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before. What's that? The most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. And this Rath Yatra festival is one of the ways in which he did that. So, it's just the nature of the human mind is to always be thinking, well, okay, what's in it for me? This is what's in it for us. What's in it for us is the opportunity to enter into this feeling, Lord Chaitanya's feelings of separation, and be recipients of this most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. In other words, you could think of yourself when you're participating in the Rath Yatra, the idea is to get absorbed in the chanting, absorbed in the dancing, not to just, be walking along and connecting with old friends you haven't seen in a year or two or three or whatever, and chatting. No, get absorbed in the chanting, get absorbed in the dancing. You could be thinking, I'm assisting Radharani, because we're servants of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Radharani. I mean, it's maybe getting a little esoteric, but you could think of yourself, you're assisting Radharani in her attempt to attract Krishna back to Vrindavan. That's what's going on. And as I said, it's an opportunity to enter into these feelings of separation. That's what we just heard. And I just read there, Prabhupada said, anyone who is participating in this festival will gradually develop his dormant love for Krishna. That's how it works. And through the chanting, it gets revealed. There's that verse that Prabhupada would quote a lot, and I quote it a lot too. Tak Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Gurai Mindade Seva Mukhi Jivado Swayam Eva Spadatya. That Krishna reveals. When you get, devotional service begins with the chanting, the tongue, and eating prasadam. And when you get absorbed in that, Krishna reveals. What he reveals is not his universal form. That's not I don't think that's what's being, I'm sure that's not what's being referred to in that verse. That, you're not going to get the universal form revealed to you. No, it's these mellows, it's these rasas, you see? The rasa of Dasya, Shakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, particularly. In the case of Lord Chaitanya, he's trying to reveal the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So this is what it's all about. It's an opportunity to, and yesterday was like what's called the coming attraction. Just like when they have a movie, they give the coming attraction of the appetizer. Yesterday was the appetizer. And if you surrender to it, you get it. Like, I'll be honest with you, I was here yesterday in the temple room. I stayed for the whole thing. I got here at 4:30. And, after the kirtan, I was thinking, man, this is really crowded in here. It's kind of uncomfortable on the floor, do I really want to stick it out? And I thought, no, I got to stick this out. I should do this, you know. And so I was just sitting there, and I was kind of feeling kind of like, you know, fidgety and not really. But then when Jagannath came out, that was it. Jagannath came out and it hit me. You know, I felt like, oh man, I'm glad I stayed. You know, I wasn't trying to do anything, but, you know, like I felt some emotion there. I felt like something. I wasn't, you know, it's for real. It's for real. This is the real deal. This is this potency here. We have to try to surrender and get absorbed in you know, in participating in this Rath Yatra. The chanting and the dancing is on the actual day itself is a super important part of that, and everything, you know, leading up to that is also equally important. Okay, so all right, so that's the class basically, and now I'll back up and do what I was supposed to do. Okay, so I'm going to read the chapter introduction. I'm just going to read the first paragraph because that relates to the first 20 verses in the chapter, which is what I'm supposed to cover today, and then who's ever doing it tomorrow can continue on from there. So the chapter is the external reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How did I do so far? Did that kind of make a clear message? Did you get it? Okay, thank you. All right, so it goes, in this chapter, the author has fully discussed the external reasons for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, after displaying his pastimes as Lord Krishna, thought it wise to make his advent in the form of a devotee to explain personally the transcendental mellows of reciprocal service and love exchanged between himself and his servants, friends, parents, and fiancés. According to the Vedic literature, the foremost occupational duty for humanity in this age of Kali is Nam Sankirtan, or congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The incarnation for this age especially preaches this process. But only Krishna himself can explain the confidential loving service performed in the four principal varieties of loving affairs between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Lord Krishna therefore personally appeared with his plenary portions as Lord Chaitanya. As stated in this chapter, it was for this purpose that Lord Krishna appeared personally in Navadvip in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so verse 1. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the potency of the shelter of his lotus feet, even a fool can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truth from the minds of revealed scriptures. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. I have given the purport of the third verse. Now, O devotees, please listen to the meaning of the fourth verse with full attention. And this is the verse I just read. I'll read it again. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has descended in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. And that's the purport says, that's a quotation from the Vidagdha Madhava, a drama compiled by and edited by Srila Rupa Goswami. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Vraj, is the Supreme Lord. He eternally enjoys transcendental pastimes in his eternal abode, Goloka, which includes Brajdam. Purport. In the previous chapter, it has been established that Krishna, the son of Vrajendra, the king of Vraj, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead with 6 opulences. He eternally enjoys transcendentally variegated opulences on his planet, which is known as Goloka. The eternal pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual planet Krishna Loka are called aprakata, or unmanifested. Unmanifested pastimes because they are beyond the purview of the conditioned souls. Lord Krishna is always present everywhere, but when he is not present before our eyes, he is said to be aprakata, or unmanifested. Text 6. Once in a day of Brahma, he descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. We know that there are 4 ages, yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Divya Yuga. 71 Divya Yugas constitute one Manvantara. There are 14 Manvantaras in one day of Brahma. Purport. A manvantara is the period controlled by one manu. The reign of 14 manus equals the length of one day, 12 hours, in the life of Brahma, and the night of Brahma is of the same duration. These calculations are given in the authentic astronomy book known as Surya Siddhanta. A Bengali translation of this book was compiled by the great professor of astronomy and mathematics, Bimal Prasad Datta. Anybody know who that is? Oh, it's on the screen. Okay. Later known as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, who was our merciful spiritual master. He was honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta, and the title Goswami Maharaj was added when he accepted sannyas, the renounced order of life. The present Manu, who is the seventh, is called Vivaswatu, the son of Vivaswan. 27 Divya Yugas, which is 27 times 4,320,000 years, solar years, of his age have now passed. Purport. The names of 14 Manus are as follows. 1. Swayambhuva. 2. Swarachisa. Uttama, I'll just read the names. Tamasa, Raivata, Chakshusha, Vivasvata, Sarvani, Daksha Sarvani, Brahma Sarvani, Dharma Sarvani, Rudraputra, or Rudra Sarvani, Rochya, or Deva Sarvani, and Bhautyaka, or Indra Sarvani. Just out of curiosity, does anybody know what, this is like a little Krishna trivia question. Does anybody know what Krishna was doing approximately 120 million years ago? Something significant. Can anybody give me one? He did obviously doing a lot of things, but what was one significant thing that Krishna was doing? Huh? Yeah, right. Yeah. 120 million years ago, Vivasvatamana, when I read that, it reminded me. 120 million years ago, 400,000 as well. Prabhupada says in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the first purport, that Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, Vivaswan, on the sun planet. So, something to think about. Okay, text 10. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with the full paraphernalia of his eternal Vrajadham. Purport. Now is the term of Vivasvata Manu, during which Lord Chaitanya appears. First, Lord Krishna appears at the close of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga, and then Lord Chaitanya appears in the Kali Yuga of the same Divya Yuga. Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya appear once in a day of Brahma, or once in 14 manvantaras, each of 71 Divya Yugas in duration. So it's very rare. It's very, very rare that Lord Chaitanya appears. It's, once in every 8.6 billion years is the entire day of Lord Brahma, or his daytime is 4.3 billion years. So anyway, it's amazing that, very fortunate to have taken birth at a time so close to when this very special occurrence took place. From the beginning of Brahma's day of 4,320,000,000 years, 6 Manus appear and disappear before Lord Krishna appears. Thus, 1,975,320,000 years of the day of Brahma elapse before the appearance of Lord Krishna. I got a fly here that's being pretty persistent. So, this is an astronomical calculation according to solar years. Text 11. Servitude, dasha, friendship, sakya, parental affection, vatsalya, and conjugal love, shringara, are the 4 transcendental mellows, rasas. By the devotees who cherish these 4 mellows, Lord Krishna is subdued. Purport. Dasha, sakya, vatsalya, and shringara are the transcendental modes of loving service to the Lord. Shantaras, or the neutral stage, is not mentioned in this verse because although in Shantaras one considers the absolute truth, the sublime great, one does not go beyond that conception. Shantaras is a very grand idea for materialistic philosophers, but such an idealistic appreciation is only the beginning. It is the lowest among the relationships in the spiritual world. Shantaras is not given much importance because as soon as there is a slight understanding between the knower and the known, active, loving, transcendental reciprocations and exchanges begin. Dasharas is the basic relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Therefore, this verse considers Dasha the first stage of devotional service. Okay, that makes sense. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys in Braj with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and conjugal lovers. Purport. The descent of Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is very purposeful. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who knows the truth about Sri Krishna's descent and his various activities is at once liberated and does not have to fall again into the existence of birth and death after he leaves his present body. Okay, so two questions for the audience. So first question is, what verse is being referred to there? One who knows the truth about Sri Krishna's descent and his various activities is at once liberated and doesn't have to fall again into the existence of birth and death after he leaves his present material body. What verse is being referred to there? Yeah, that's the verse that's being referred to there. And Prabhupada quoted that verse a lot. That's one of the top 10 of verses quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so what's meant by that, though? What's meant by that one who knows the truth about Sri Krishna's descent? Say somebody comes into the temple for the first time today, and you tell him, actually, when Krishna descends, he does it in his transcendental body, and it's not a material body, and the activities he performs are all pastimes. So are they liberated? You just told them. Now they know. Now they know the truth about Krishna's descent. That when he descends, it's in his original transcendental spiritual body, and that all his activities are pastime. So are they liberated? They know. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'll explain. Just like, what's the symptom? What's the symptom of somebody who knows that fire will burn them? What's the symptom of that person? They won't stick their hand in the fire. Not for more than a second anyway. You can go like that and you're okay. But if you go even like that, you're burnt, right? So the symptom of a person who knows that fire is going to burn is they won't stick his hand in the fire, right? Same way, the symptom of a person who knows, who actually knows about Krishna's descent is what? What? Yeah. In the 10th chapter, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam Buddha bhava samanvita, that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know that perfectly, what do? They engage in my devotional service and they worship me with all their heart. You see, so that's the symptom. I think that's my understanding of that verse. That's what it means to know about Sri Krishna's descent and his various activities. Somebody who actually knows about that will be engaged in devotional service. I think there's another verse in the 9th chapter where Krishna says, how's it go? Hatmanastumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananyamanaso gyatva bhutadim aviyam. That the great souls, they're under the protection of the internal potency because they know me to be the Supreme Personality of God at original, but they're fully engaged in devotional service. That's the idea, that somebody who actually knows about Krishna's appearance and activities, they're engaged in devotional service. Okay, reading on. In other words, one who factually understands Krishna makes his life perfect. Imperfect life is realized in material existence in 5 different relationships we share with everyone within the material world: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, filial love, and amorous love between husband and wife or lover and beloved. These 5 enjoyable relationships within the material world are perverted reflections of relationships with the absolute personality of Godhead and the transcendental nature. That absolute personality, Sri Krishna, descends to revive 5 eternally existing relationships. Thus, he manifests his transcendental pastimes in Braj, so that people may be attracted into that sphere of activities and leave aside the imitation relationships within the mundane. Then, after exhibiting all such activities, the Lord appears. So that's an interesting point, and it's a very significant point, this point about how the relationships are pervertedly reflected here in the material world. What we're experiencing here in the material world is a virtual reality. A virtual means it seems like it. It seems like, yeah, this is for real. But it's a virtual reality. We're not actually, it's like imitation. We're not actually experiencing the real thing. It's a virtual reality. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Einechio sodi maya nasi baro lagi, harinama mahamantra lao tumida. I have brought the medicine which will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Whether we know it or not, we are captives in an illusion. This is a virtual reality. This is not, I mean, it's like a dream, you know. When you're having a dream, it's not like it's, you're not imagining you're having a dream. You're actually having a dream. It's a type of experience. But when you wake up, you go, oh, that was just a dream, right? At least most of us. When you wake up from a dream, you go, oh. It might seem very real, but that was just a dream. So in the same way, this might seem very real. Not might, it does. It seems completely real, what we're experiencing right now. But it's not the ultimate reality. It's just like a dream. It's just like waking up from a dream. Einechio sodi maya. I brought the medicine which will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you're suffering. We're captives in this virtual reality. Illusion. It's an illusion. And the chanting, engaging in devotional service, surrendering to the chanting and the process, that's what's going to enable us to wake up, to become, wake up from this illusion, become free from the illusion, get out of the virtual reality and experience actual reality. And once again, Rath Yatra is an opportunity to enter into the actual reality of experiencing the relationships, not the perverted relationships, but the actual relationships in reality. I can't think of another word, as they really are. Okay, text 13. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. For a long time I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. Purport. The Lord seldom awards pure transcendental love, but without such pure love of God, freed from fruitive activities and empiric speculation, one cannot attain perfection in life. Krishna again speaking. Everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions, but simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Brajabhumi. Knowing my opulences, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. Purport. After his appearance, Lord Krishna thought that he had not distributed the transcendental personal dealings with his devotees in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. One may understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Vedic literatures and thus become a devotee of the Lord and worship him with the regulative principles described in the scriptures, but one will not know in this way how Krishna is served by the residents of Brajabhumi. One cannot understand the dealings of the Lord in Vrindavan simply by executing ritualistic regulative principles mentioned in the scriptures. By following the scriptural injunctions, one may enhance his appreciation for the glories of the Lord, but there is no chance for one to enter into personal dealings with him. Giving too much attention to understanding the exalted glories of the Lord reduces the chance of one's entering into personal loving affairs with the Lord. To teach the principles of loving dealings, the Lord decided to appear as Lord Chaitanya. So don't misunderstand this purport. It's not recommending that we should abandon or give up practicing the regulative principles of devotional service. The point it's trying to make is that, I think, that these regulative principles are necessary but not sufficient. You got to do them. Yes, you have to do these regulative principles, but then you got to go beyond that. You got to go beyond just executing, and you have to enter into these higher, more spontaneous, higher levels of devotional service. What's it? Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti, or Sadhana Raganuga Bhakti. We're practicing Sadhana Bhakti, and you have to keep doing that. And then, but simultaneously, we should try to be cultivating this appreciation for this, the higher understandings in devotional service, so we can enter into them like that. Anyway, translation again. By performing such regulated devotional service in awe and veneration, one may go to Vaikuntha and attain 4 kinds of liberation. These liberations are Sharshti, achieving opulence equal to those of the Lord; Sarupya, having a form the same as the Lord's; Samipya, living as a personal associate of the Lord; and Salokya, living on a Vaikuntha planet. Devotees never accept Sayuja, however, since that is oneness with Brahman. Purport. Those engaged in devotional service according to the ritualistic principles mentioned in the scriptures attain these different kinds of liberation. But although such devotees can attain Sharshti, Sarupya, Samipya, and Salokya, they are not concerned with these liberations, for such devotees are satisfied only in rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. The fifth kind of liberation, Sayuja, is never accepted even by devotees who perform only ritualistic worship. To attain Sayuja, or merging into the Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the aspiration of the impersonalists. A devotee never cares for Sayuja liberation. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that Sayuja, that's out of the question. And apparently, I think what I'm understanding here is that even Sharshti, Sarupya, Samipya, and Salokya, for those who are like really followers of Lord Chaitanya, even that, we want more than that. You know, Lord Chaitanya is offering more than that. I think that was what was meant by, you know, that verse I started off by reading a few times. You know, he's offering the most elevated mellow of conjugal love. Yeah. No, he's offering what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service and the mellow of conjugal love. So that's beyond Sharshti, Sarupya, Samipya, and Salokya. Lord Chaitanya is offering something beyond that. That's how I'm understanding. That's what I'm reading here. Okay, so text 19. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. So once again, it's implicit within this statement is there's a connection. There's a connection between the congregational chanting of the holy name, the dancing in ecstasy, and realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. There's a connection there. One produces the other. They're not two separate things, right? And the last verse for today is, I shall accept the role of a devotee and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. Purport. When one associates with a pure devotee, he becomes so elevated that he does not aspire even for Sharshti, Sarupya, Samipya, or Salokya, because he feels that such liberation is a kind of sense gratification. All right, so we're hearing about some really elevated devotional service here. Pure devotees do not ask anything from the Lord for their personal benefit. Even if offered personal benefits, pure devotees do not accept them, because their only desire is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by transcendental loving service. Okay, can anybody give me an example or two of devotees who we hear about who did this? I can think of two. Two come to my mind right away. That's the biggest one. Kolovich Shraddha. Everybody know that? He was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and he was very poor. He used to worship Lord Chaitanya. He used to sell banana leaves, right? Bananas and banana leaf cups like that, and his income was practically nothing. And he used to use half of his income to worship the Ganges, and then half of his income just to survive. And he had like a hut, and there was holes in the roof, so when it rained, he'd get wet anyway. And he had like an old tin cup that he kept for drank his water out of. Anyway, Lord Chaitanya, he was very poor, and at one point, Lord Chaitanya used to come. He used to tease him. He used to come and get some bananas and say, "Okay, how much you want for these bananas?" And he would, Kolovich Shraddha would quote him a reasonable price, the going price. And Lord Chaitanya said, "No, I'll give you half that." And Kolovich Shraddha would go, "Come on, I'm giving you the fair price. Just pay what I." No, I want it for half price. And and then Lord Chaitanya, Kolovich said, "No, I can't do that." "Well, I'm taking them." And he just, there's like, it was a rasa between the two of them. So finally one day Lord Chaitanya just, he really loved this devotee. And he said, "Okay, look, you've conquered me. What do you want? I'll offer you anything. Whatever you, just ask me for a benediction. Any benediction, anything." And Kolovich Shraddha, he said, no, I just want faith, faith in your devotional service for eternally. That's all. That's all so he had the opportunity. He could have asked for anything, but he didn't. And it was another example. Anybody think of? Huh? Sudama Brahman. That's another example. Everybody knows that story. Would Dhruva Maharaj come in that category too? When he, how he was performing all austerities, and he finally saw, I think Lord Narayan came to him, and he offered him benediction. And he said, "No, I was searching after broken glass, but now I'm seeing you. I realize I've got the valuable jewel. I don't want." And actually, he regretted because Lord Narayan or Lord Vishnu made him accept, the Dhruva Loka, and he actually regretted that he approached with some material desire initially, because anyway, like that. So here's the purport. I was reading the purport already. So it says here, if offered personal benefits, pure devotees do not accept them, because their only desire is to satisfy the personality of Godhead by transcendental loving service. Okay. No one but the Lord himself can teach the highest form of devotional service. Therefore, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, so that's significant. The Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga. It's special. We got to remember that. Once in a day of Lord Brahma. This is no ordinary Yuga avatar. Lord Chaitanya is not some, run-of-the-mill ordinary Yuga avatar. He comes once in a day of Lord Brahma, once every 4,320,000,000 years. Like, this is really a special time to be around, to take advantage, to participate in the Sankirtan movement. Goes on to say, the system of worship recommended in this age. So he incarnated to do that, and says he also distributed the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. So once again, the two things are related. So the Lord took the place of the incarnation to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, and also to distribute the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental love. So it's not like he did, it's not like Lord Chaitanya, okay, first I'll spread the glories of chanting the Hare Krishna, and then I'm going to, distribute the process of devotional service performed on the platform of No, the two things are simultaneous. It's by getting into the chanting, you're simultaneously and automatically you're getting into the, entering into the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. It's not like two separate things. They're the same thing. Anyway, it says, to reach the highest principles of spiritual life, the Lord himself appeared as a devotee in the form of Lord Chaitanya. So we're going to wrap it up. And once again, something that he did was he participated in this Ratha Yatra festival every year, I think for 20, Lord Chaitanya was around for 48 years. The first 24, he was kind of, grasta ashram, and then once he took sannyas, kind of like towards the end of his 24th year, then he traveled for 6 years throughout South India and other places, and then from 30 years old onwards, he stayed at Jagannath Puri, and but during that time when he was in Jagannath Puri, he participated in the Rath Yatra festival. Even in the last 12 years of his life, he was kind of in seclusion in the Gambhira, which was the house of Kasinath Mishra, another great devotee there. Anyway, but even during those years, he participated in the Rath Yatra festival. So Rath Yatra was important to Lord Chaitanya. Even when he was in his last 12 years in seclusion in the Gambhira, just, really feeling intensely feelings of separation, he participated in the Rath Yatra. So it's really significant. So anyway, so it's a great opportunity. So I guess I'll stop there because it's 8:30. Does anybody have any question or anything that, such a comment is welcome as well.
So the original of the Rath Yatra festival started at Kurukshetra. Then Jagannath Puri celebrated for many years, which is considered to be the Vipralamba Kshetra. So Srila Prabhupada brought the Rath Yatra festival to the Western world and many different parts of the world. We celebrate Rath Yatra. Now my question is, which is the place where Rath Yatra is not celebrated, and why?
Which is the place where it's not celebrated and why? Well, maybe just lack of resources. I mean, there's not like a lot of devotees all over the place. But
no, this is a philosophical question.
Well, I'll answer it like this, okay? It's not exactly a direct answer, but Yamuna was talking with Prabhupada, okay? Yamuna was a very special devotee. She was talking with Prabhupada, and she was asking, Prabhupada, how is it possible? Because it was 1970, they were at the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad. So she said, four devotees who had a lot of association with Prabhupada had just left. They didn't give names. I'm reading this book, Dancing White Elephants by Guru Maharaj. It might have been like, the four devotees that got kind of excommunicated briefly like that. I don't know who she was referring to. But Prabhupada said, he made the point that, physical closeness is not necessarily actual closeness. And then he gave the analogy, a king might be sitting on a throne, and a mosquito might be there, and the mosquito is very close. But that mosquito is not intimate with the king. He's a disturbance. See, so Prabhupada made the point that closeness is not necessarily intimacy. So my point is that the places where Rath Yatra is not celebrated, and why, I don't know, but wherever it is celebrated, if you get into it, you're there. It's like being in Jagannath Puri. It's non-different. It's just like chanting. There's no physical limitation to the chanting. Any place anybody gets into the chanting, you can experience pure love of Krishna here in Los Angeles. You don't have to go to, I'm nothing wrong with going to Jagannath Puri, by the way, but you don't have to go to Jagannath Puri to participate in that Rath Yatra. This Rath Yatra is for real Rath Yatra. If we really get into this Rath Yatra and really surrender to Rath Yatra here, you can experience what Lord Chaitanya was wanting everybody to experience right here in Los Angeles, or in San Francisco, or any Rath Yatra you go to. These are for real Rath Yatras, just like the chanting is. You just have to surrender to get into it. Why they're not all over the place? Hopefully in the future they will be. That's the only thing I could say to that.
Anybody else would like to answer that question?
Say?
I know you know. I can answer that, but I know you know.
In the place of Vrindavan, it is not celebrated because also the mood there is Krishna is always present in Vrindavan. So Brajavasis, they always think Krishna is always present with us. Like they say Vrindavanam parityaja padam ekam na gacchati. So the devotees of Vrindavan, they constantly have the feeling of Sambhoga and Vipralamba both.
Okay, that's a comment. Thank you.
Prabhuji, on this question.
Yeah.
So I heard Satsrup Maharaj years ago say, I heard in a lecture on 55th Street, he said that if we're all chanting Hare Krishna, no matter where we are, we're all connected, we're all linked up. And I've been always trying to understand that basic principle. Maybe I'm trying to understand through my blunt material senses, but yeah. So is there a way to feel more like, we're linked up and not physically like, see, now we're connected? You see what I'm saying? So anyway, can you explain a little bit?
Well, yeah, Prabhupada, Satsrup Maharaj wasn't making that up. Prabhupada was, some devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, when you're away, I'm feeling so much missing your, Prabhupada said, no, you're chanting Hare Krishna there where you are, and I'm chanting Hare Krishna where I am. So we're compact in the chanting. You're kind of like associated on the level of consciousness. That's what's important. What's important is the level of consciousness. Like, I'll give you an example. This is off the top of my head. I hope it's okay. But you could be in a place, even in a temple with somebody, and they could be coming for a long time, and you might not have much of a relationship with them. But then when somebody really advanced comes, you feel so close to them, because you're inspired by their consciousness. You see, the consciousness is the important thing, not the physical proximity. So that's what counts. But something like Rath Yatra, Didi, all the things we're doing are meant to help us go more deeply into pure devotional consciousness. But that's ultimately what we're striving for, to enter into this, very pure, deep devotional consciousness. And because we have physical bodies and we're in the material world, these different arrangements are being made to give us facility to help us, engage our senses, our mind and our senses, but ultimately we're trying to enter into these, deeper levels of spiritual consciousness. That would be my answer to that question. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Gruntaraj. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Rath Yatra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.